If that day of activity costs $551 to pull off, you're looking at an ROI of 116%. Easy, right? Well, let me let you in on a little secret that most of the industry doesn't yet understand. Hello, experiential marketers. Now, the fact of the matter is we all know that experiential marketing is a revenue-generating tool for the brands we serve. The problem is proving it. At PortMA, we've been measuring experiential marketing for agencies and brands since 2010 and cracked the code for experiential ROI when we focused on answering 3 questions. The first question has to do with marketing reach, where we work to answer the question of how often you're reaching the right consumer. Next, we need to understand how we're creating intent where it didn't previously exist. This is going to be our impact measure, the outcome we're trying to achieve. And then finally, we can bring these reach and impact measures together to talk about value in a real, tangible way by asking, under what circumstances is the return on investment, or ROI, highest? Now, when you can measure, track, and react to your performance against these 3 questions, you'll be working in a value-centric manner and thus acting as a true steward for the brand you serve. Let's start by taking a brief step back and talk first about the job of marketing in general. Every brand has a particular consumer in mind when developing itself. This may be moms with young children in the household. It could be 20-something outdoorsy men. It might be young professionals working in human resources. In marketing research, we call these groups demographic or psychographic profiles. These groups are at the root of any consumer segmentation and at the core of the identity a brand works to create. Regardless of who you're trying to reach with your marketing, there's a reason why 100% of this target consumer group is not buying the brand, and that reason is always because the consumer is stuck at some stage in the purchase cycle. Why they're stuck is often called the marketing challenge, and good marketing unsticks them. So what is this purchase process? When any of us decide to do anything, we must work through a 4-stage process. Buying a product or service is no different. It starts with the need. We must have the problem the brand solves. For the brand to even be in our consideration set, we need to identify with the solution. And that happens once we've identified with the problem or we have the need. Next, we must be aware that the brand is associated with the solution. Furthermore, we have to know and believe in the credibility of the brand's promise. This is the suggestion that if we were to engage the brand, that we'd have the solution to our problem. Third, we need to get a taste, sometimes quite literally, of what the solution will feel like. Call it a trial run. But we, or the consumer, must know that the solution is right. Before we give up our hard-earned dollars or valuable time and effort, the brand needs to show us that we're not being conned. Finally, we need to experience the solution and indeed realize that solution. All the work done to set our expectations needs to align with our experience so that we become not only a buyer of the product or service, but a loyal customer. So the indicator that your marketing is working and that it's moving consumers through the purchase cycle is evident when you can measure change in consumer attitude or behavior across the cycle. Good marketing will change attitude among consumers who are stuck in the need and awareness stage. Likewise, good marketing will change behavior among consumers who are stuck in the trial or purchase stage. And when you know where the consumers are in the purchase cycle and how you've influenced attitude or behavior, you can start to get a clear picture of your marketing program's value to the brand. Measuring experiential marketing is about applying these ideas to your activation. It's about knowing who you reached, how you impacted them, and how reach and impact came together to deliver a dollar value greater than what was spent to create the engagement in the first place. Your marketing reach is the number and type of people you touched. It's the experiential equivalent of gross rating points, or GRP, and it's defined by your impressions, your interactions, and your sample counts, as well as the demographic and psychographic profile of your event patrons. Impact is a measure of the change the marketing created. It's measured in the context of change in attitude and change in behavior. Where direct behavioral change is not possible, future intent can be measured and modeled to accurately reflect actual behavior. Value comes from the merging of reach and impact to derive a monetary value. When this monetary outcome is modeled against program spend, the resulting measure is the return on investment, or ROI. So let's look at an example of how ROI is figured. It starts with a typical activation day, where consumers are exposed to your campaign. So let's say, hypothetically, that this day you had 204 exposures based on your signage, footprint, activation, media, and other sources. And from those exposures, you were able to engage 26% of them, or 53 total consumer engagements. And to take our example further, let's say that your on-site survey work told you that 85% of them, or 45 of those 53 people, didn't currently buy the brand you were promoting. These were non-customers, and they represent the basis for incremental future revenue. And let's assume that your brief on-site survey from a cross-section of engagements showed that 78% of those non-customers left the footprint with a self-reported intention to buy the product in the future. We're now left with 35 potential new customers. We know that people don't always do what they say they're going to do, but what if 60% actually did buy? Now, there's a great body of academic research on what this percentage should be, but let's assume it's 60% for our example here. We're now left with 21 estimated new customers, and that leaves us with a basis from which to understand in real economic terms what the impact of our event could be. And these new customers generate a dollar value. It's done with simple math. Let's start by estimating a value per customer. For purposes of the example here, let's assume a $30.40 annual value. There are a lot of ways to figure this, but here let's just say that the average customer buys 4 SKUs per year at a cost of $7.60 per SKU. So 4 buys times $7.60 equals $30.40. Multiply 21 new customers at an annualized value of $30.40 each, and you get to $638 in incremental revenue delivered for that one day of activity. If that day of activity costs $551 to pull off, you're looking at an ROI of around 116%. Easy, right? Now let me let you in on a little secret that most of the industry doesn't yet understand. As soon as you get to the point where you have this number, this 116%, you realize that it doesn't mean anything. Sure, you'll wipe the sweat from your brow that it's positive, but in and of itself, it's meaningless. And that's because it's not actionable. To make it actionable, you need to segment it and compare it to benchmarks. Here's what ROI looks like when it's segmented. You might organize your ROI by event type, where you segment your data by NASCAR, festivals, and street intercepts. Or you might break it up by markets, such as Massachusetts, Ohio, and Texas. Or even by staffing scenarios, like single-person events, 2 staff, or 3 or more staff on site. And take sampling strategy, where if you are talking wine, you might organize your data by varietal, segmenting by white, sparkling, or red. And this is where it becomes actionable. All of a sudden, it becomes clear that NASCAR is outperforming street intercepts significantly. Looks like those extra venue costs are paying for themselves. And Texas is certainly outperforming Massachusetts. Maybe that pre-activation social push had an impact after all. Looks like we weren't getting to enough consumers when we staffed with just 1 person, but those 2-person events were truly optimal. 3 people staffing an event doesn't seem to be worth the extra costs. And red is really outperforming white. We knew the white was going to be hard to chill, but it looks like that was having a bigger impact than we suspected. And this is real. This is real, actionable consumer insights. This is how you measure experiential marketing. These are the measurement strategies used by the agencies you know. Since 2010, PortMA has been behind the scenes designing the measurement strategies, collecting the data, conducting the analysis, and delivering status reports and program recaps that deliver actionable roadmaps and drive future campaigns. And we've been doing this for the brands directly or through their agency partners for some of the most iconic brands in the industry. This is a measurement strategy that works across consumer packaged goods, adult beverage, insurance, finance, and household products, from over-the-counter to frozen pizza. We've even delivered these methods for several branches of the U.S. military. We invite you to browse PortMA's use case videos to gain an in-depth understanding of how these methodologies can make you a smarter marketer, win you more business, and generally help you deliver a better campaign for your clients or manager. Or reach out directly if you'd like to learn more.